Why do some people fall apart physically the moment they cross 60, while others stay sharp, strong, and independent well past 80? It is almost never bad luck, and it is rarely just genetics. In most cases, it comes down to a handful of ordinary daily habits that quietly work against the body for years before anyone notices the damage. The frightening part is that these habits do not feel dangerous at all. They feel completely normal, which is exactly why so many older adults keep doing them without ever asking whether they are part of the problem. In this video, we are going to walk through 5 of the most common habits that silently speed up aging after 60, the real biological reasons behind each one, 3 simple tests you can try right now at home to check your own risk, 2 practical fixes doctors recommend most often, and 1 surprising habit shared by many people who live well past 90. None of this requires expensive supplements, extreme diets, or intense workouts. If you want to understand what is really happening inside your body as you age, and what you can still do about it starting today, stay until the end. And if you find this helpful, please consider subscribing, liking this video, and sharing it with someone in your life who could use it, because sometimes one video shared at the right moment changes the next 20 years of someone's life. Let's start with the first habit, and it is one that almost everyone underestimates. Habit number 1, skipping strength-building movement. When people think about staying active after 60, they almost always think about walking. Did I get my steps in today? Did I go for a walk this morning? Walking matters, but there is a quieter, more damaging habit hiding underneath it: the complete disappearance of any activity that challenges the muscles. Take Robert, 66 years old, a retired school teacher who prided himself on being active. Every morning he walked his dog for 25 minutes, rain or shine. He believed that was enough to keep him fit for the rest of his life. What Robert didn't realize was that walking alone without any resistance or strength work does very little to slow down one of the most dangerous processes of aging, muscle loss, known medically as sarcopenia. After the age of 60, the average adult loses close to 1 to 2% of muscle mass every single year if nothing is done to counter it. Robert's walk kept his heart moving, but his muscles were slowly shrinking in the background. He started noticing it in small ways. Standing up from a low couch took real effort. Carrying grocery bags up the stairs left him out of breath in a way it never used to. He assumed it was simply his age catching up with him. His doctor explained something most people never hear. Muscle isn't just about looking strong. It's your body's largest storage site for glucose. It protects your joints, it stabilizes your balance, and it directly affects how long you can live independently. When muscle disappears, blood sugar control gets harder, falls become more likely, and the body becomes fragile in ways that ripple into every other system, including the heart and the brain. Weak muscles also mean a weaker metabolism, because muscle tissue burns calories even at rest, so as it fades, weight tends to creep on even without eating more. Here is a simple test you can do right now to check where you stand. Stand up from a chair without using your hands, then sit back down and repeat this 5 times, timing yourself. If you can complete it in under 12 seconds without touching the armrests, your lower body strength is in solid shape for your age. If it takes much longer, if you need to push off with your hands, or if you feel shaky, that is a signal your muscles need direct attention, not just more walking. The fix doctors recommend most often is shockingly simple. 2 short strength sessions a week, even just 15 to 20 minutes long, using bodyweight movements like chair squats, wall push-ups, or light resistance bands. You do not need a gym membership or heavy weights. Robert started with nothing more than standing up and sitting down from his chair 10 times, twice a day, and slowly added resistance bands he bought online for less than the cost of a takeout meal. Within 2 months, climbing the stairs no longer left him breathless, and getting up from low chairs stopped requiring a plan. His walk stayed the same. What changed everything was adding those few extra minutes of strength work. Now tell us in the comments, when was the last time you did anything that specifically challenged your muscles, not just your heart? Habit number 2, drinking too little water without realizing it. This one sounds almost too simple to matter, but doctors say it is one of the most overlooked issues in older adults. Margaret, 70 years old, considered herself a healthy eater and rarely drank sugary drinks or alcohol. But when her daughter tracked her water intake for a week out of curiosity, they discovered Margaret was drinking barely 3 small glasses of fluid a day. Margaret wasn't avoiding water on purpose. She simply didn't feel thirsty the way she used to, and she worried about needing the bathroom too often, especially at night, so she quietly cut back without even deciding to. This is far more common than most people think. As the body ages, the thirst signal in the brain becomes less sensitive, meaning older adults can be significantly dehydrated and still not feel thirsty at all. On top of that, the kidneys become less efficient at concentrating urine, meaning more water is lost through the day even at rest. Margaret had been living in a state of mild, chronic dehydration for years, without any obvious symptoms pointing directly to it. Her doctor explained what this quietly does to the body. Blood volume decreases slightly, which means the heart has to work harder to circulate blood, sometimes contributing to dizziness or lightheadedness when standing up quickly. The brain, which is roughly 75% water, becomes less efficient, often showing up as brain fog, trouble concentrating, or unexplained irritability, symptoms many people simply blame on aging or a bad night's sleep. Chronic mild dehydration also thickens the blood slightly, placing extra strain on the cardiovascular system, and it makes constipation, joint stiffness, and urinary tract infections far more likely, since the body relies on adequate fluid to flush out waste properly. Here is a simple test to check your own hydration. Look at the color of your urine first thing in the morning. Pale yellow, close to the color of lemonade, generally signals good hydration. Dark yellow or amber, especially if it stays that way through the day, is often a sign you are not drinking enough. Another quick check: gently pinch the skin on the back of your hand and let go. If it snaps back almost instantly, that's a good sign. If it stays tented or takes a few seconds to flatten, your hydration may need attention. The fix doctors recommend is not forcing down large amounts of water all at once, which can be uncomfortable and unnecessary. Instead, they suggest spacing small amounts consistently throughout the day, starting with a glass right after waking up, before the body has a chance to start the day already behind. Herbal tea, water-rich foods like cucumbers, oranges, and soups all count toward daily fluid needs as well. Margaret started keeping a marked water bottle on her kitchen counter as a visual reminder, and within a few weeks her afternoon brain fog noticeably lifted, and she even mentioned that her joints felt less stiff in the mornings. Let us know in the comments, how many glasses of water do you honestly think you drink most days? Habit number 3, neglecting the small warning signs of hearing and vision loss. This habit is dangerous precisely because it feels harmless to ignore. Frank, 74, had noticed for a couple of years that he needed the television volume a little higher than his wife preferred, and that he sometimes missed parts of conversations in noisy restaurants. He brushed it off as normal, telling himself everyone's hearing fades a little with age. What Frank didn't know was that untreated hearing loss does far more than make conversations harder to follow. When the brain receives less sound input over time, it has to work considerably harder to fill in the gaps, pulling mental resources away from other tasks like memory and attention. Several major studies have linked untreated hearing loss in older adults to a significantly higher risk of cognitive decline and dementia, not because the ears cause memory problems directly, but because the brain, straining constantly to decode unclear sound, gradually shifts resources away from other cognitive functions. And because people with hearing loss often withdraw from conversations and social situations without realizing they are doing it, quietly sliding into isolation. The same pattern applies to vision. Many older adults assume blurrier eyesight is simply an unavoidable part of getting older and delay getting their eyes checked for years. But poor vision increases the risk of falls dramatically, makes it harder to notice cracks, curbs, or uneven ground, and forces the brain to work harder to interpret unclear visual information, contributing to the same kind of mental fatigue seen with hearing loss. Frank's doctor asked him a simple question during a routine visit. In group settings, do you find yourself nodding along even when you're not entirely sure what was said? Frank admitted that he'd often. Here is a simple test you can try. Have someone stand about 10 feet behind you and whisper a short, random sentence or a couple of numbers without you turning around. If you can repeat it back accurately, your hearing is likely fine for now. If you consistently struggle even in a quiet room, that's worth having checked professionally rather than assumed away. For vision, try reading text at a normal distance in decent lighting and notice if you have to squint, tilt your head, or hold the material unusually close or far to make it clear. The fix here is straightforward but often delayed out of pride or cost concerns. A hearing test and an eye exam, both usually quick, painless, and increasingly affordable through community health programs. Frank finally got tested and was fitted with a small hearing aid he barely noticed after the first week. Within a month, his wife said he was more talkative at dinner than he had been in years, simply because he could actually hear what was being said without straining. Tell us in the comments, has anyone in your life ever gently pointed out that you might be missing sounds, details you didn't realize you were missing? Habit number 4, taking medications without ever reviewing them. This habit rarely gets discussed, yet doctors consistently name it as one of the most overlooked risks for people over 60. Diane, 69, was managing what she considered a fairly normal list of medications. Something for blood pressure, something for cholesterol, an over-the-counter allergy pill she took nightly to help her sleep, and an occasional pain reliever for her knees. Individually, none of these alarming. Diane had simply added them one at a time over several years, each prescribed or recommended for a specific issue, without anyone ever looking at the complete list together. It was only when she mentioned constant grogginess and occasional confusion to a new doctor that someone finally reviewed everything she was taking at once. The doctor explained that as the body ages, the liver and kidneys process medications more slowly, meaning drugs can build up in the system more than they would have decades earlier, even at the same dose. On top of that, certain combinations that seem harmless on their own can interact in ways that amplify side effects, particularly drowsiness, confusion, and balance problems. Diane's nightly allergy pill, in particular, belonged to a category of medications that doctors increasingly discourage for regular long-term use in older adults because of their strong link to next-day grogginess, and with prolonged use, a possible connection to cognitive decline. None of this had ever come up before because no single doctor had seen her whole medication list laid out together. This is an incredibly common gap in care, since older adults often see multiple specialists who each prescribe independently, with no one responsible for the full picture. Here is a simple test you can do at home this week. Write down every single thing you take regularly: prescriptions, over-the-counter pills, supplements, even occasional sleep aids, and take that complete list on paper to your next doctor's visit or pharmacist, specifically asking them to review it together for interactions and necessity. Many pharmacies now offer free medication review services designed exactly for this purpose. Diane's doctor removed 2 medications entirely, adjusted the timing of another, and swapped her nightly allergy pill for a much gentler alternative. Within 3 weeks, her grogginess disappeared and her thinking felt noticeably clearer, something she had assumed was simply an unavoidable part of aging. Let us know in the comments, has anyone in your life ever discovered they were taking a medication that no longer served any real purpose? Habit number 5, avoiding the doctor until something feels seriously wrong. This last habit is less about a single daily action and more about a mindset, but its consequences are often the most severe of all 5. George, 72, hadn't had a real checkup in nearly 6 years. He felt generally fine, walked regularly, ate reasonably well, and told himself that if something was truly wrong, he would feel it clearly enough to act. This belief, incredibly common among older men in particular, ignores an important medical reality. Many of the most dangerous conditions in later life, including high blood pressure, early kidney decline, prediabetes, and certain cancers, develop silently for years with no obvious symptoms until they have already caused significant damage. High blood pressure in particular is often called a silent condition precisely because it rarely causes any noticeable symptoms until it has already contributed to damage in the heart, kidneys, or blood vessels. George eventually went in only because his daughter insisted, worried after noticing he seemed more tired than usual. Routine blood work revealed his blood sugar was in the prediabetic range and had likely been rising slowly for years, and his blood pressure was significantly higher than it should have been, despite George feeling essentially normal the entire time. His doctor explained that regular checkups after 60 are not about being sick, they are about catching small shifts early, while they are still easy and inexpensive to correct, rather than after they've become full-blown chronic conditions requiring lifelong medication and management. Here is a simple way to check where you stand without even visiting a clinic. Think honestly about the last time you had your blood pressure, blood sugar, and basic blood work checked. If you cannot remember the approximate month, that alone is useful information. Many pharmacies now offer free blood pressure checks that take less than 5 minutes, a good starting point if a full appointment feels intimidating. The fix here isn't complicated, it's simply scheduling an annual checkup and actually keeping the appointment, treating it the same way you would treat routine maintenance on a car, not as an emergency response, but as prevention. George started making his yearly visit non-negotiable, and with a few dietary adjustments and a short course of medication, both his blood pressure and blood sugar returned to a much healthier range within several months, well before either issue had a chance to cause lasting damage. Tell us in the comments, how long has it actually been since your last full checkup? We've now covered 5 habits that quietly work against long-term health after 60, neglecting strength-building movement, chronic mild dehydration, ignoring early hearing and vision changes, never reviewing medications as a complete picture, and avoiding regular checkups until something feels seriously wrong. Here is the encouraging part. Every single one of these can be improved starting this week, without dramatic life changes, expensive equipment, or extreme willpower. And there is one more thing worth mentioning before we go, something researchers have noticed again and again when studying people who live well past 90 in good health. It isn't a rare supergene, and it usually isn't a strict diet or an intense exercise routine. It's a strong, consistent sense of purpose, something to look forward to each day, whether that's a grandchild to call, a garden to tend, a community group to attend, or simply a reason to get out of bed with intention rather than just habit. People with a clear sense of purpose tend to move more, eat more mindfully, sleep better, and stay more socially connected, almost automatically, because purpose quietly pulls all the other healthy habits along with it. If there is one thing to take from this video, let it be this. Aging well after 60 rarely comes down to one dramatic change. It comes down to noticing the small, ordinary habits that have quietly become normal and being willing to adjust them, one at a time, starting today. Your future health is not decided by the years you cannot get back. It is shaped by the small decisions you make starting right now. If this video gave you something useful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And before you go, tell us in the comments which of these 5 habits you are going to work on first. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.